You've heard this saying before that Demon Slayer is mid. And well, I'm about to be the biggest apologist you've ever seen. But instead, I'm not going to give you reasons as to why Demon Slayer could be mid, but instead, in this video, we'll defend Demon Slayer saying it's better than you think. And for some of you, it may put a nice target on my back. But maybe, just maybe, Demon Slayer is not as bad as you think. So let's talk about Demon Slayer as a whole, if this series is good, bad, or is it really mid? Now let's first get the obvious out of the way so I can hype up Demon Slayer just a little bit. Demon Slayer is a previous winner for Anime of the Year. Now it is true this is not as big of an accomplishment sometimes as you'd think. Some previous winners had to go through the gauntlet to get the award for Anime of the Year, and some other times a series would just win because who else do you have to go against you? But besides Demon Slayer having its breakout year in 2019 and winning that award, it's also been nominated 2 other times for each one of its seasons. And for sure in 2023's lineup, you have some hitters to go against. So you can't say that Demon Slayer is overhyped because it's always in contention to be one of the best. Now as to why it's up here, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But we can at least give Demon Slayer its flowers for that. Another thing about Demon Slayer is it had a canon movie that went dummy stupid dummy. Demon Slayer's movie The Mugen Train did crazy numbers. And while in the West we don't appreciate anime as much as we probably should, in other countries they loved it. In fact, if you've forgotten, this is currently the #1 grossing movie in Japan. Now of course I should point this out that the other shows that could be #1 on this list that aren't are still good. And honestly that's an understatement because we're looking at the Titanic, Frozen. I went back to this list and I was surprised to even see One Piece on here. But regardless, Demon Slayer's movie is #1 at this time. And seeing that it's 9 billion ahead of the next slot, I don't think it's going to be overtaken anytime soon. But of course, we should give this series its flowers for what it's done, especially because they have guts to put out reruns in theaters for the Demon Slayer series. They wouldn't be doing this if they weren't getting a solid check. So there has to be something about Demon Slayer that's appealing, right? And of course, if you've been looking at the footage, maybe you can see what I'm talking about. But I should also talk about the other side as to why you think Demon Slayer may be overhyped. And well, that all really starts with one thing, and that's the plot. So if you have not seen Demon Slayer's plot, I'm going to talk about it for a quick second. And trust me, it won't take me much longer than that. Something that you may hear a lot is that Demon Slayer has a very mid story. So in a quick synopsis, here is the story. You have a young man that lived a normal life until he witnessed a tragic event. When that happened, he was forced into becoming a strong fighter to stop his antagonist group. Of course, he has his own reasons to do so, but at the end of the day, he wants to protect other people. Those that are too weak to be protected themselves, he will always get stronger to protect those said people. So he ends up joining another group of people like him that can train him to become stronger. And of course, at the end of the day, they all have the same goal to stop and beat all the baddies of baddies. Of course, I'm talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. No bro. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? Demon Slayer for sure does not have the most unique plot that you'll ever see, but shows that you may compare it with don't have anything more grand than Demon Slayer does. So of course I'll agree with you that this is a mid story, but for sure this is not Attack on Titan. And the plot's not really what made this show so successful anyway. What you're really here for is the animation. Now the studio animating Demon Slayer called Ufotable seems as if they only make Demon Slayer. When it's Demon Slayer season, they'll give you movie-worthy quality every single time. I'd say the first time we really saw this true quality from Demon Slayer was within the Rui fight. Seeing Tanjiro use his flames for the first time really showed how great this anime is. Just the constant movement of animations while making sure you can still see what's happening is very great. And Demon Slayer never took a step back when they got to this point. Jumping over to the movie, they had 2 amazing fights. First you had Inosuke and Tanjiro against a lower ranked Moon, and that was phenomenal, especially because how the demon's ability worked, it wasn't really physical combat. So to have visual cues showing us as an audience that he was messing with their mind was very great. I mean, I'd argue with you that this is one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen from Demon Slayer. And honestly, let alone period. But even when we thought the movie was over, they surprised us with another fight with Akaza versus Rengoku. And this fight was the traditional fight you want to see. I'm talking about fist throwing, blood slinging, all that was here. And I'm sure most fans will say that the Rengoku fight was the best fight of the whole movie. And while it wasn't the climax climax of the movie, it for sure felt like it could have been. But even after this successful movie, it did not stop here. It was probably hard to figure out how to follow up right after Rengoku. So they added in another too strong for his own good character, and he was out here clapping cheeks. I can't believe that happened, dude. And when we got his fight with the twins, I mean, oh my goodness, if anything has ever broken the internet besides UI Goku, it's this. And again, all of this comes down to Ufotable giving great animation for the anime. And while I will give other studios their credit for doing the best they possibly can, especially MAPPA, I still don't see their shows topping above Ufotable's Demon Slayer. And I'm just talking about the animation quality. I mean, they give absolutely great animation, but is it at this level? And we also have to be reminded that Demon Slayer is a comedy. Amongst all the other shonens that Shonen Jump has, I would say Demon Slayer puts out the most comedy if they could. Soon as they get to the fight scenes, that's usually done, but they're not afraid to put that right at the end or even sometimes between the fights themselves. And I'm sure you're looking at some right now, but Demon Slayer does so many comedic effects you almost forget it is a shonen. Now there are some shonen shows out there that they do not care if you laugh or not. Their goal is to give you a great story and a great fight scene, and if you don't get that, then tough cookies, you don't like the show. But again, Demon Slayer is a shonen series that runs off of this comedic effect. Now personally, I think it's a smart thing to have for families and young children watching the series. But for some of the ultimate weebs out there, I'm sure you could care less. And to be completely honest with you, sometimes they overdo it a little bit. Sure, it's okay to have a comedic joke here and there, but sometimes Demon Slayer can still be doing it 4 episodes in and only live on that. But you know what? Each their own. I can't really say it's good or bad. Everyone has their own personal opinion about it. But again, jumping back to the main topic, looking at all these different factors, this makes up Demon Slayer. And again, I don't really get the topic of saying the show is mid. If you are watching Demon Slayer, I'm sure you're not watching it for the story. Especially if you're watching it 3 seasons in, I'd be damned if you're still complaining. But other than that, what else are you saying that it does not compete with? Looking at some of these other new gen animes, I really don't see a difference from Demon Slayer to Chainsaw Man to Jujutsu Kaisen. But of course, each one of these animes could get their own video as to why they're good or maybe why they're not that great. But of course, that's going to be up to you. Is the Demon Slayer series actually mid, or are people just overreacting to it? You get my stance, but I also want to know yours. If you want to see more general topic reviews like this, show some love to this video. And of course, if you are that Demon Slayer fan looking for some more Demon Slayer content, I have one for you over here. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all. Take care. Peace.